Recording in progress on the Ultimate Sports Network. Woo! Here we have Real Boxing Talk. We're talking about real boxing and the boxing of talking about real stuff. As always, we have, well, almost always have John and Charles. I am your host, Head Big Mouth, and we are going to talk about what's happened, what hasn't happened, what's going to happen, and all that good fun stuff. So, the unification fight that just occurred last weekend, that did unify squat. Let's start with you, John. What do you think of that particular scoring, the whole thing? I know this is a hot take thing. I don't like doing hot takes, but this is one that's kind of important. So let's take a look at the fight itself and how it was scored. We'll kind of go round robin on that.
Okay, you want me to talk about scoring first?
Well, whatever comes to mind.
Okay, it was a good fight. It was a give and take fight. It was a burst type of fight. You know, we'll lull a little bit with jabbing and jamming. Then Castano would load a little bit on Charlo, and then he'd back off and jab and jab. And Castano had the edge a little bit, and Charlo rallied. Maybe Castano came back. Charlo came back. He hurt Castano a couple times. Charlo got wobbled for the first time I've ever seen. Got a little stung, but he recovered quickly. I was sitting there at home thinking this fight's going to be a draw. That's what I was thinking. So I just blew my climactic response. I wasn't disappointed that it was a draw at all. I wasn't stunned. A lot of people are not a lot. Some people are screaming that it was robbery. I didn't see that. It was a styles fight. You know, you had a boxer puncher, Charlo, backing up a little bit, jabbing. How many did he land? Okay, it's the bibble. Yeah, Castano bobbing and weaving, the shorter guy, 4 inches shorter, coming in, and then when he get close, he'd fire. And I was thinking about Ali Frazier. You know, it was the same kind of thing where whenever Muhammad, you know, behind me, got on the ropes was when Frazier most of the time would do all his damage. And the same thing was happening when Charlo would allow that to happen. Castano would go to town on him and do some good work. So it was a little frustrating for me as far as Charlo, because, you know, I've been ranting and raving about how good he was, and I don't think he either wasn't as good as I thought, or he's not very good at adapting, because he really wasn't fighting his fight, even though his trainer was screaming at him, "What are you doing? You know, you get off the ropes." And I'm thinking the same thing. Come on, Charlo, you know, you don't have to fight that way. You know how to spin away from the ropes, but he kind of likes it. So you got that, and Castano, I've seen him fight, so he fought like I expected, but he had respect for Charlo's power. And all the talk about Charlo's power was funny. It's because it's more recent. You know, he's only got 18 knockouts, but I think 6 out of his last 7 or 8 fights he scored knockouts. So he seems to have gotten more power as he's gotten older. But the fight was a good, intense, competitive fight. A lot of people upset. Some people calling it criminal. And I didn't see that. It'll be a good rematch. Looking forward to the rematch. See who will make some adjustments. They both thought they won, so it was a good fight. That's just how I tried to write it up on Max Boxing. It was just a good, competitive, back and forth, debatable how you score because everybody's different. Fight 117, 111. Now that was bad. Yeah. One for Charlo. That one I went, what is this, a Canelo fight? You know, it was like, oh my gosh, what you watch it there. But as far as the rest of the other 2 judges and the fight itself, it was a very entertaining 12-rounder.
Well, the one thing is when we've talked to officials and other people, we know that what they're supposed to do is score each round by itself. So that gives you the overall score, but that's where sometimes the disparity comes in. But Charles, did you see better, Castano or Charlo?
I think that when I looked at it, I mean, you could see early on that Charlo was doing his thing, but Castano never stopped, even early on. I think that was very, very crucial. It kind of let Jamel Charlo know that he was going to be in for a fight. And right. And I think why a lot of people were surprised by Castano because coming in, everybody knew he was a gamer, and Charlo's used to kind of waiting, picking his spots. And one of the biggest issues that his corner warned him about was staying off the ropes, because when you was on the ropes, Castano was able to come in and he landed some shots.
Yeah.
So now everybody's coming down like they did to his older brother Jamal because he was in a war or in a fight. And now everybody's like, oh, he's not as good as I thought he was. Oh, okay, but let's be real. Okay, when you step, and I said to somebody else, when you step up and challenge in a higher level of competition, things happen. So you got to find out, are you ready to handle that? And the one thing of it is we saw something that we weren't used to. We saw Charlo being backed up against the ropes, and for some reason or another, or whatever, he forgot to throw his hands.
Yeah.
We criticized Adrian Broner for that all damn day long. Now this happened to Charlo, and everybody's like, he's horrible. No, he's in position with somebody that's like, I'm not afraid of you. I can fight you. So when you step up in the upper echelon, I think he just got caught up in a moment. And it's a learning experience. I mean, he came back strong. A lot of people gave him maybe 3 of the last 4, maybe the last 4 rounds, which allowed him to get the draw. So he adjusted, but he still didn't adjust enough, where his corner had told him the last round, you need a knockout. You need a knockout, and you just not doing what we asked you to do. And he was looking around like bewildered a little bit, like, are you really telling me that? At one point, he didn't even know what round it was. He was trying to figure it out, but he was in a fight. Castano is a fighter, man. I mean, he said he wanted to, and I think sometimes instead of just putting guys down like that, because he didn't come across and was so much dominant, I'm talking about Charlo, that is, you got to realize this is what we want. This is what you've been asking for. So when guys are engaged in this type of action, don't sit back and whine and cry and talking about what they should have done. Just realize it was a hell of a fight. So my thing now is, I think it was a draw. I think it could have went either way. I mean, I could easily see somebody saying, the 117-10 was way out of whack, clearly. A lot closer than that. But I could easily, somebody said Castano won. Somebody else could announce that Charlo won. I think it was like that. But I also think, too, that we got to be honest that maybe Charlo needs to go back to the drawing board like so many others, that now that the stakes are higher and you're facing better competition, now we need to focus on what it's like to really be challenged. And we sit all the time when we were in our old fogey days now, right? Back in the day, we did all the time. So now, but that's what they got to do. So hell of a fight. The key now is to learn from the experience.
Well, the thing that I find interesting, and this is something where we mentioned this last week, that he's fighting for a unification, which means he has to beat another champion. Now, we've poo-pooed the belts for a long time. Too many champions, too many belts, all that. But John, does it get to the point where you're saying, okay, it's easy to look good and hit a guy at will when he can't hit you back. But when the other guy, Castano in this instance, is hitting you and isn't backing down, maybe it's a lot harder to let your hands go, because it's harder to let your hands go when the guy's hitting you. You got to worry about not getting hit as opposed to hitting somebody. So,
Frank, I think
it's a matter of stepping up in class for both of them, or was it just?
I think it was. I think it was the talent is very deep in the junior middleweights. I think Charlo was criticized for kind of the same thing when he lost his first fight, where he didn't let his hands go, as Charles said, and he lost because he was outworked by Harrison.
Right.
And this is kind of similar to this. Now, it might be that, in essence, people were wrong about Harrison, Castano, and Charlo, meaning that we thought Charlo was quite a bit above these guys, when in reality, he's still above them, but it's closer than we thought as far as that goes. So if he's off just a little, since these guys are close, they could beat him. Only a few of these guys, you know, like Harrison, maybe Lubin, and he looked so good last time, the hammer. That would be a tough fight for Charlo, I'm sure. It'd be a rematch, but still, Lubin's better now than he was then. So it might be that. And we knew, remember I said, you guys all agreed that Castano was definitely live. Remember we said that. We knew that was going to be, I think based on a little bit of what Charlo said, and I could be wrong here, I'm just guessing, that he underestimated Castano a little bit. Because he said, yeah, I fought better guys than him before. And I remember thinking, oh, buddy, you know, and that's where you worry if somebody's telling you something like, he's not so good. You don't have to do that extra run because this guy, you're going to beat him. He's going to be good. He can be tough, but you're going to beat him. You fought better guys. But in reality, he should have had somebody saying, well, maybe better guys as far as talent go. But this guy is, again, like Charles said, this guy's a fighter. He's relentless. He's going to be coming at you. He's got good technique. He's smart. He's got a good chin. He's never been knocked down before. You need to really work. Don't underestimate this guy. And then it might have been, maybe there might have been a difference. But again, I'm just speculating. I think that's what hurt him, back to what my original point was, because he didn't let his hands go, like Charles said again. And then maybe overrating him in the sense that I thought he was that much better. And that's my fault because he is that good. It's just that these guys are also damn good. So it brings it closer to when they fight each other, it's going to be good. Most of the fights are going to be good fights. I mean, even the fight with Rosario, you know, he was losing rounds and then he got him. But, you know, I don't know. I just always wonder about, it's like, don't moan too much, Frank. Adrian Broner. Why doesn't he throw more punches? I don't get it. I mean, I know you want to be a counter puncher. I get that. You're waiting, but you can't wait 11 and a half rounds, bro. And, you know, you got to start earlier than round 5 in all seriousness. And I wonder if guys just get it in here again. And that's why their trainers are constantly going, come on now, you got to throw punches. You got to throw punches. And isn't that what it's about? Boxing, throwing punches. So you don't want to get hit, obviously, but I was a little, because I like Charlo, obviously. So I was like, come on, Jamel, you're letting this guy outwork you. You're letting him steal rounds because you're jabbing and then you stop. Mm-hmm. Like I could do better. Trust me. I kept sounding like I could do better. I get killed in the first round. But it's just one of those great mysteries to me about when that happens. And I always just wonder, because I like to go into the psychobabble about it. Like I said, did he not take him too seriously? Is he losing focus somewhere? Or is it just way he fights, and if he doesn't work enough, he's going to fight these guys that are going to outwork him, and then these bouts are going to be close. So pick your poison here. It could be any of those things.
Well, Charles, now this is something that I just thought of, so correct me if I'm wrong. Is it less about, let's see if I can word this right, let's go, everyone thinks he's great and all that, or is it more that the opponent usually is reading the press clippings as well? So they're, I don't know if I want to use the word intimidated, but they're usually fighting against the tide when they get in there. And it seems to me, Castano's like, I don't believe it. I believe that I can do what needs to be done, and I'm going to go out and do it, because he didn't have any back down at all.
Yeah, well, I think for him, it was about not feeling intimidated whatsoever. I mean, the press clip was clear. When you think about Charlo had 3 of the 4 belts, but Castano's won a belt. His is legit too. So he's been there. He knows what it's like. He had no reason to be afraid. Also, too, he had nothing to lose, man. I mean, you could say he lost his belt, but technically, when you had that opportunity, a guy like that is like, most people don't think I belong in here anyway. Nobody thinks I deserve it. They think I'm just kind of some guy that caught the extra belt that nobody else wanted, all that other crap. And for a real gamer and a fighter like Castano, that guy had to be like, well, I don't have nothing to lose, bro. We're going to find out if you're the truth. We're not saying Earl Spencer. We're going to find out if you're the real deal. Holyfield. Anyway, we're going to find out if you are really the guy that you say you are and put it on the line. And I think that's what he did. So to throw the clippings out, and he waited and he stayed consistent and he had every reason to be proud about his performance. And the fact is that even when he made his comments, I think that said a lot too after the fight. Like, I think I won, but you know what? It's okay. Because I'm a champion, he's a champion. I hope we can do it again. He had no malice towards towards Charlo. He was like, good fight. I thought I won, but that's okay. Because I'm here, and I want you guys to know I'm not going anywhere. I'm a player, and I'm in the game. And I think for him, that's more satisfactory because that means, of course, more money, more great opportunity, more TV time. And yeah, so when you give your all like that, and granted, it wasn't a loss, right? He still has his belt. So even if they don't redo the rematch, you're still a champion. So it's like, damn, I wanted to win, but like in Vegas, I broke even. I came here with the same money I left. I wanted more, but I'd rather break even than lose. So no, I think that he came in, he's feeling real good right now, just to find out what the next opportunity is for him.
Well, I don't know what that feeling's like, but I'm sure it's the idea of he didn't lose because he didn't win. But the idea that he didn't lose because he didn't win is important for a couple different things. For one, he should get a rematch. I don't know why there wouldn't be watching the fight. I want to see him run back again. I think that was a heck of a fight. It wasn't overly, oh my God, but it was pretty darn good. And I'd like to see him run it back again. The second thing is, as Charles said, he still has the belt. He's still a belt holder. He should be able to get another fighter and then build back up to it. And the third thing is, if he had lost that and lost it decisively, like a lot of people maybe thought the way things work now, he may be out of the running. He may have to, he acquitted himself well, Castano, and I think that it worked out pretty well. So I'm not disappointed in anything other than the one judge that came up with something that's, I can see him saying that Charlo won, but saying that Charlo won that significantly, I didn't see it. Other than that, I think everything worked out for all of us for the best. Other than, I think the only person that really ends up being a loser in this is Charlo, because he's got to put up with that. Well, why didn't you just walk through him because you're supposed to be the next thing coming up, and but hey, build up the drama and go for it. Okay, so now that we've looked at that and we're going to run it back, hopefully, let's look at a couple of things, and I'm just making this up off the top of my head. A couple of times that we've seen something, a draw or a decision didn't go the way we thought it would have, or whatever, and now we're going to go back to it. Now I'm going to go to the Maloney Franco fight that's going to be coming up in August. That's my linchpin of that. But before off the top of your head, where it was, I got the second shot, or I deserved the second shot because the first shot I got screwed, or I had to pull out or something like that. Maybe I was injured in the fight or something, where the redemption coming up was more impressive or a better fight than the first fight.
Which one?
I didn't hear the last part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, John. Yeah. Where the redemption fight was better, or
Well, the classic one, me, the old school. It wasn't better, but the two guys behind me, Muhammad Ali, when he got his revenge against Joe Frazier in fight number 2, it wasn't a better fight, but he won. So that was great. He did that to Ken Norton in the second fight too. Another really, really tough fight. More recent time, they don't have as many rematches as they used to do. Back in the old days, they would fight like 3 months later or something. And I'm trying to think, and you shouldn't do this to us old guys, Frank. You should make sure you put this on the script, because trying to come up with this off the top of the head is really difficult, because, geez, I can't remember what I did yesterday. So, I'm trying to think, where was a second fight, a more recent fight? I can't even think of a second fight that was significant. So I'd have to go on Google here and search for it. So of course it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be old. It's going to be the old ones. Joe Louis and Jersey Joe Walcott. See, I remember all those. He fought him the second time. He knocked Jersey Joe Walcott out. So there was your sweet redemption.
But that's the point of the question.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you know, we're looking at it and go, does the second fight really hold up? Charles, okay, you look like you got a couple. So, okay.
Well, technically, you know, one of my favorites has always been, and it's not really following your rules because I kind of skirted a little bit. I wouldn't say the second fight, but all day long, I will never forget this.
Okay. That's all right.
Redemption clearly was Juan Manuel Marquez knocking out Pacquiao all day, because for all the times that they fought, Marquez never felt like he got an opportunity to get a fair shake. And he knew the only way he was going to get his redemption was to knock him out. And it surprised everybody. But most importantly, in boxing history, and this is just my opinion, is the fact that the way that Marquez caught Pacquiao and knocked him out, to me, cemented him as one of the legendary greats. And I tell you why. Because we know what Pacquiao is going on to do since then. And prior before that, Pacquiao has been a machine. And we have never really seen Pacquiao out like he was in that particular fight.
Right.
He's taking fights that we thought he would end up that way. But the way that Marquez did what he did and did receive his redemption, that's all day long against probably one of the top fighters in our age, in our lifetime, that we recognize. So yeah, I think that was clear redemption, because Frank, you and I have went over and over, talked about him changing the style, Marquez that is, changing to being more of a counter puncher, being a little bit more aggressive, trying to fight this way, to fight more like Pacquiao. So maybe the judges will give him a shot. And we watch every freaking fight over and over. And every time he got closer and closer, till finally he was like, you know what? Get out of here, man. So to me, that's the classic. I mean, you mentioned some other ones, but that's right on point. Against two of the top-notch guys. And you never heard after that, you never heard Pacquiao ask and saying, y'all want to fight that dude again?
Yeah, because he was going in to knock out Marquez. That was what he said. He's going to knock him out. Frank, and one I did think of that it wasn't a better fight, but Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran too was a huge redemption fight for Sugar Ray. Yeah, he was thrilled by that. So I don't know what does that say that nowadays I can't think of any. That's kind of sad, but that was a good example there. That
I just stole mine. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm still searching for what I consider some kind of rematch redemption, and then of course my brain flips back to Joe Louis and Max Schmeling in fight number 2, where that was talking about your redemption for the whole country. So that was something. But I don't know.
So I'm going to go a little bit, because I was going to do that one too. And then on the other side of that, the redemption of the guy who won the first fight and then solidified his championship in the second fight was Kelly Pavlik over Jermaine Taylor.
Yeah, that's true.
Because even though Pavlik won the first fight, I'm not sure that anyone of the masses thought Pavlik should have won. I'm not that he shouldn't have won the fight, but they were shocked that he won the fight. It was like, that was a fluke. If Jermaine Taylor gets him again, he's not going to let it happen. And Pavlik won the second fight too. So, sometimes you win and people was like, well, it was your day. The idea of Leon Spinks beat Muhammad Ali, well, give him another shot. If we would have had, Tyson against Buster Douglas the second time, well, I think most people would have said, yeah, Buster got lucky the first time. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's solidifying what you did in the first fight and making it work in the second fight. The redemption of Pacquiao over Jeff Horn. And we've been around that any 3,000 different ways, but he had
never
to
got
win
it.
that fight again.
Never got it.
Not to say that Pacquiao was going to be whatever, finished, but he needed something to redeem that. So, there are a lot of ways of looking at that. And I think a rematch can be good and it can be bad. but I think in this case it's necessary. And this segues to the Maloney Franco, which would be the third. Well, one was a no contest, so I guess it's the second fight. But I think this is something that has to be done simply because of how it ended. You know, first of all, we know that, you know, Maloney really was distraught with himself for not bringing the goods in the first fight. Mm-hmm. And then the second one, we've been over that any number of times, how there is no resolution to that, or at least a good resolution to it. So now what happens? Does Maloney come out and just roll over him like he was doing in the second fight? Or does Franco make adjustments and go, I'm going to do what I did in the first fight, I'm not let this happen. So to me, that's coming up, and that's very interesting. But something that Charles mentioned as we were getting started, and I'll let you run with that because it was a surprise to John and I. So Charles, bring that up, and we'll kind of see how we go with the Canelo news.
Okay. Yeah. Apparently, you know, kind of run out of time because September is coming in real quick, and there's a lot of other fights going on. So Canelo wants to fight in September, and the issue was, could he fight Caleb Plant, and trying to figure that out. And Canelo being the free agent that he is, which I love. I mean, you love or hate this dude. Business-wise, the dude is smart as hell, and then picking that off TBE, Floyd. But yeah, he's doing the job. But apparently, he is finalizing a deal, Canelo Alvarez, that is, to fight Caleb Plant. They're looking at September 18th in Las Vegas. And it's going to be, but he's signing a one-fight deal, promotional deal, supposedly with Al Heyman. One fight deal with Al Heyman. So yeah, not the Zone. They might be involved. Not Top Rank. Not anybody.
Golden Boy.
One Golden Boy. One fight deal with Al Heyman so he can fight Caleb Plant. Now, that's unheard of. It's unusual, but it's smart as heck because it's like we want to fight. We want to fight some of the other guys over there too, and we know, love or hate, Al Heyman's stable and his group, but they know how to make money. They know how to promote things. They know how to make money. That's one thing they can do. And for Canelo to step on the other side of the bridge and go get the money tells you the guy's about to cash. He don't give a damn who it is. Long, can you help me get over here and get this money and do it in a great way, publicizing and whatnot? I think it's phenomenal. I think it shows you the mindset of what a true sportsman, a champion, and the people that are working for him have put together. Because that's what Floyd did. He put himself, had great people around him, and they made it happen. And what else can you say? It's everything. You know it's going to be top notch. Everybody's going to see it. And the way that they set it up, it's a great deal. Plus, too, after it's done, Canelo's a free agent again. Dude, amazing.
Right. Well, John, for those that aren't as in the businesses we are, or as you guys are, I should say, give the people a quick little background of Al Heyman and what Al Heyman has been up to in the last year or so.
You know, Premier Boxing is got a mixed reputation because he started it with where it was going to be more viewable for people to watch, which I loved because, again, showing the age here, I loved the fights on Saturday with Tim Ryan and Gil Clancy and all that. And he was, the thought was he was kind of going to try to emulate that so more people could watch it. It wouldn't be pay-per-view. Well, you know, things happen. I guess from what I've read, he lost a lot of money with that because obviously, let's be honest, we talk about this every week pretty much. The boxing fans base has gone down quite a bit in the last so many years. So they couldn't get the numbers. There was an investment that this team put together and they've lost it. And they're supposedly been in the red, but they're still going. And then there's Al Heyman himself. He's the mysterious Al Heyman. I remember when I was in Las Vegas and somebody was up on the podium and they called him out and they said, I want to thank Al Heyman. They pointed over there and he was pointing at nothing. Right. So I looked and went, oh, where's Al Heyman? I looked out. Is it him? Yeah. It's like he hid behind whoever was in front of him. So he's kind of a mystery guy. But Premier Boxing has been reportedly dead for so many years, but it's still around, and they have a lot of good cards. They got in a lot of trouble, guys, because of mismatches, and that term. But then they would have good fights. So it's okay. Let's just to wrap it all up. It's very mixed with Premier Boxing, but Floyd Mayweather is connected with them, which obviously helps with Gervonta Davis and everything. But this is huge for them, and I bet Eddie Hearn in London is going, no, how did you do that, man? We had a romance going here. What are you doing? And I think Canelo, what happened is partly what Charles said. I think he watched on the sidelines what Floyd Mayweather did, and he goes, and then the whole thing with Golden Boy, the whole ugliness with Oscar De La Hoya. He was signed with Golden Boy, and it's gone so sour that they rip each other on Twitter, I understand, and now Oscar's been talking about fighting him. And Canelo just treats him like a piece of crap. And this is a guy that he idolized once. And I'm like, Oscar, what are you doing? So I think Canelo made a decision right then. He goes, okay, I'm not going to tie myself to any of these assholes. I'm going to do what I'm going to do for me. What's the best thing for me? Because that's what the promoters do anyway. Most of the time, it's all about them. They forget about the fighters. So I completely agree, Charles. It's brilliant on Canelo's part.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to give it to the guy. He's not just a guy. We talk about that. A fighter go, I fight. When my manager tells me where to fight, I'll fight.
Right.
Canelo, we got a different animal here. He's got his career. He's managing his own career. Mm-hmm. He's got people helping him, obviously, but he is in the forefront. And back to Eddie, I'm sure Eddie Hearn is like, we've been talking about this with the zone, and what happened? And Canelo's been very complimentary about Eddie Hearn. Eddie's a good promoter, but Canelo probably thought, well, yeah, but it's nothing, right? And it's not personal. I think if I was Canelo, I'd say to Eddie, look, it's not personal. It's business. It's a mob. It's just like a mob. Look, it's not personal. Afangu, it's business. It's just business. That's all it is. And I want to work with these guys and get over yourself. And after this fight, we'll talk.
Right. Yeah.
So you gotta give the Canelo. That's a good fight. I don't care what anybody says. Caleb Platt's a good fighter. Okay, maybe not Canelo, obviously, again, but it's an intriguing fight. And Canelo is a fighter. He's fighting again. You love him or hate him, and I don't even know how you hate him anymore. Maybe earlier when he was kind of protected. He's fighting. I wish he'd fight. We know who we wish he's going to fight, but he's fighting a lot, which I think is excellent for boxing.
Right. And what works out well. Okay, well, let's look at this from one thing. And we're used to the bombast of say Don King. Let's start with that. But there were promoters before him that promoted themselves as well as promoting the fight. Looking at guys that have come on since then. And the thing with Al Heyman is, I'm not even sure we know what Al Heyman looks like.
Yeah, true.
He is so far in the background that he's like, does he even exist? We don't. I mean, I'm sure it's not about me. I'm going to collect the check, put it in my pocket, go live in my villa or whatever, and let's put on a fight. So that's the brilliance, I think, of that, because it's counterintuitive to what everyone else does. And I'm getting first of all, in the last, we just decided, or we've realized, this is like the closest to 2-year anniversary of us doing this show. I have to go back and find the exact first show, but we've been doing this for a couple of years. We have mentioned in not the greatest light, Bob Arum. We have mentioned not in the greatest light, Golden Boy and De La Hoya, the Zone, and various other aspects of what's going on. This may be the first time we have said Al Heyman's name. The idea of bad publicity is good publicity. We haven't mentioned him once. We've mentioned his fight. We mentioned his fighters. We've mentioned the distribution. We've mentioned all that. This is the first time I think about it. You should be conducting your business, you know. So I think that's very good. The second part of it is just what Charles said. Canelo Alvarez is a free man. It's nothing personal, it's business. He's talking about what he wants to do, and he's set it up to where anybody. Oh, well, but to finish the thought, if it's at all possible, it's that Canelo is to the point where, as Charles said, he is the guy that everyone wants to get with, and he hasn't really upset anybody. You know, he hasn't signed a long-term contract, which is what they want, but they know they've got a shot at a Canelo fight to make money. It may be this year, maybe 6 months from now. So looking at what we're looking at as far as postponement of Fury Wilder, postponement of Donaire, what is the next thing other than Spence Pacquiao they're looking for, Charles? What is the next thing that's on the docket? We say, we have to watch this, because we've got a few things. I know, that's September to be concerned with, or really want to be concerned with.
Right. Wow, it's a lot going on. I mean, you said, I would say, you mentioned before about Franco Maloney. I think a lot of people need to pay attention to that, because one, it's a great fight, and it's a lot on the line. So granted, you may not be aware, a lot of people may not be aware of the significance of the fight, or maybe the players themselves, they're not going to receive a lot of hype. But considering the controversy, I think it's worthwhile mentioning and looking into. We mentioned that later on, Usyk and Joshua are going to fight, right? But I would say that right there, I would say, if I had to put it together, I would say Franco and Maloney. I mean, there's other stuff too, but that's on the docket for people to see. And it's a toss-em fight in a way, because you never know what's going to happen. But we do know this: both of these guys are going to come in with some serious ill intent, and they both want to win, and they're both talented. So when you have this fight, it's a toss-up, and I think that's what's going to make for great action, one way or the other.
John, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for that one, but I just posted something in Max Boxing that a month from today is Pacquiao Spence. And that one has me really intrigued, because as we've said, and I wrote it in a very loving way towards Pacquiao, I was just blown away by his win over Thurman. And now it's 2 years later, and he's fighting this beast, and Errol Spence, who, by the way, I didn't get a chance to say this, Castano beat Errol Spence in the amateurs, which I thought was pretty interesting. But that fight, I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row. And then, yeah, obviously, they've got smaller fights coming up. Virgil Ortiz is going to be back in there in August. And then, of course, September kicks in, and those biggies with Canelo, and then Usyk and Joshua is a very interesting fight. But, yeah, that one's the one that's got me really intrigued, because it's the classic, the old guy who, from everything I'm watching, I don't know how Pacquiao does it at his age, that he's so springy and edgy still at 42. I mean, he doesn't seem to, here I go again with my Rocky references. We always know to talk about the eye of the tiger, and this is a guy's a senator running for president probably next year, and he still seems to have that edge. He still seems to have that competitive fire, and how he maintains it is just phenomenal to me. So I'm going to be writing a lot about that fight coming up, and I saw Errol Spence talking about fight and how excited he is, and he should be. He's going to make about 10 to 11 million, and Pacquiao could end up making about 20 million for this fight. So I'm excited about that one. But on a smaller scale, and I wish it was bigger, I agree, the Franco Maloney fight is one that, to me, that's a can't miss, just because of all the drama surrounding it, how Maloney was obviously screwed, as we've said 100 times here. And that's only a month away. So there's a little there's a little bit of a lull here for a few weeks. I mean, we said Joe Joyce is fighting Carlos Takam, and that'd be a good heavyweight fight. But then we'll have a little bit of a break, and then then we start up again on the 14th and the 21st, and then it's August and September are good. So we maybe next week, Frank, we ought to consider doing one of our greatest fights type things since it's a little slower in the game right now. But and for a second, Spence and Pacquiao, 31-year-old versus a 42-year-old guy almost died in an automobile accident. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. A guy Pacquiao his career was pretty much over after Marquez knocked him out, like we were saying. Everybody, including yours truly, was like, well, that tells you about Pacquiao. Not only about Marquez, what a great fighter he is, but that tells you about Pacquiao, how he was able to come back from that. He didn't just get stopped. He got knocked out cold. And he's come back from that, and he's a little bit better in a sense because he's a little more defensive now. He's trying not to run into blows like he did then. So see, now I'll say this right now. If Pacquiao wins, his career is, I'm just going to say it, his career tops Floyd Mayweather's in my view. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because look who he beat. Okay. And look at his age.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, Floyd's undefeated, obviously, and that's phenomenal. That's great. We'll take the last one off there, though, Floyd. 49-0. That's how I'm always going to think of you. But to do this and also be off 2 years, beat a guy who no one's even really come close to beating. John Porter gave him a hell of a fight, but I didn't think watching it that he was going to win, but he was right there with him. And this is legendary stuff. Do I think he's going to win? I'm jump ahead of myself. No. Of course, I didn't think he was going to win against Thurman. I'll admit it. So to do that, I mean, he's already a legend in a lot of ways. He does this, you might as well make a monument for him, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, that's a phenomenal career. It's just incredible. Incredible. And even if he just fights to a draw with Errol Spence, and he should walk away fast because what a career.
Okay, so I'm gonna Charles' response there is enough for me to say, Charles, say something. There's no question. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I can see the case that John would build for that. I think, like I said, Pacquiao's phenomenal. He has been, and like when I first saw him, it went a long way. Crazy. Can you hold on 1 second, man? Sure. Frank, hold on one thing.
Yeah. Scroll.
Okay. So no, but I think that the case that John can make for Pacquiao makes a lot of sense from the standpoint of him being a top-notch guy and then legendary, because you look at his record, very impressive. But I don't know. I just think that, and there might be a little bias coming in because of Floyd and watching him so many times, that I think what Floyd did, even 49-0, just speaks volumes, which means to be undefeated. And you might say he should have fought some other guys earlier, a lot of things in there, but to go undefeated for as long as he did. And then also, my biggest thing too is if I did say that the career, even if Pacquiao does win this over Spence, I definitely take nothing from his greatness because it's amazing at that age. But what Floyd has done collectively, and most importantly for me, is the fact that he made a lot of great fighters look normal. And that always resonates with me. And I think about all of the guys, he makes them look normal. You go, oh, well, this guy, that guy. You always say this, and all these other guys, this guy, he fought him too late or whatever. You fought the great Canelo, young guy that everybody thought Canelo was fast and could do this. When you go back and watch those fights, oftentimes he made them look normal. And to me, that speaks volume over the longevity and the time, and to be undefeated. I love Pacquiao. I remember just watching him for the first time versus Marquez, and I was like, who in the hell is this dude? And how did he go from that dude I was calling people about trying to get him to watch on HBO to this dude that's an explosion and one of the greatest fighters of all time. I sit back and go, I appreciate it because early on, I saw his greatness. I saw him. I recognized his talent. And then now the world knows. It's kind of like a great, like music. Great music. You the first one, you're like, man, that's a hit. And then everybody goes, oh, no. Then all of a sudden, the whole world catches on. But overall, I just think the consistency of Floyd and making other people look normal, more, I mean, just, and watching it in person. I've seen Pacquiao too, but watching Floyd just masterfully take down Marquez, right? And Marquez never wanted to, he's never said the word rematch. Watching even the way he did Pacquiao, you know, Pacquiao was older, the shoulder thing. You know, what can you say? And from Cotto, the other thing too is, okay, you guys don't think that I'll fight and stand in front of a man. I'm gonna stand in front of Cotto and fight him. And you guys like, oh, he really had a close fight and this, that, and that. But then 11th round, he goes to fighting the style he normally does. It shows you I really could have knocked him out, but you said I wasn't fighting, I wouldn't stand in front of him. So I gave you what you wanted. It's just a masterful thing. I think of it from the standpoint of where he's able to dominate and make people look normal. And so many people have tried and said that he wasn't that good. They talked about the family and whatnot, but he got it done. And I think that's the only thing I would say that would bump him up, Mayweather that is, over Pacquiao for me. But it's the consistency. Because you go 49-0. You say what you want to about it, but he did not lose. Never lost. Came close, say a couple times, whatever. But when you really look at it, you go, the longevity, he got it done.
Yeah, that's important, right? Yeah.
So
okay, we're going to set something up here. All right. So Charles, what weight class did Mayweather win his first belt at?
Oh my God, he would say that, wouldn't he? John knows this.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
I'm mad at you right now after you made your point, so I won't say anything. I'm joking.
I'm not even gonna guess.
Bail out here, buddy.
I'm not, because I know it wasn't. It was way before. It couldn't have been Feather because he wasn't big, and he was too bigger than that. Feather, definitely wasn't lightweight.
Well,
anyway, I don't know. I'm gonna be okay with that. I want to say super Feather. Is that too light?
That's what I would think. Super featherweight, 130 pounds.
Super Feather.
Yeah, I thought so. But go ahead. While I'm talking to John, go ahead and check it out. Go ahead and look it up.
Okay.
All right, John. Now, what's the first belt that Pacquiao won?
Oh my gosh, Pacquiao
won his first belt at?
Was it flyweight? I mean, he's just a tiny little guy when he won the first title. Flyweight or bantamweight or featherweight, right? One of those. I have to check the records, but and he got knocked out by a body shot earlier in his, not knocked out cold like against Marquez, but got stopped by a body shot. Yeah. And I think it was 115 or 117 or something like that. I have to be sure on that. But then that's what makes Pacquiao moving up. However he did it, there's a lot of controversy how it happened. And then real fast, Frank, let me say this. See, the thing is like this with these two guys. The better fighter is Mayweather, no doubt in my mind. But the whole career, it's like Joe Louis against Rocky Marciano, okay? Marciano never lost. Joe Louis did. But whose career is more legendary? That's what makes the discussion. Muhammad Ali lost 5 fights. We still call him the greatest because of who he fought. Yeah. So that's why this is an endless discussion on this whole thing.
Not like I'm trying to trump you or anything, but ladies and gentlemen, we want to make sure that you understood what Mr. Gordon said, okay? So again, your homework is he's looking for the best fighter that you've seen.
Please.
On tape, or not on tape, but live, released this year, January 1st, the best fighter in a non-title bout since January 1st of this year, okay? Second point that he made, he wants to develop your own Mount Rushmore of fighters. That's mean the greatest person that you've seen fight not somebody your dad told you about, your grandfather told you about, or a tape delay. As much as I love Joe Louis, I can't say I saw Joe Louis fight. So somebody that you have seen, even if you was a little kid and you watched Leon Spinks or whatever after Watergate, you can do that too. But you have to have seen them fight. And we're talking about the best fighters in each division, the welterweight division, the middleweight division, also the heavyweight division. They do not have to be undefeated, but you have had to have seen them fight during your lifetime. That means they have to be active when you were somewhat cognizant of what the heck's going on in boxing. So we're asking you to do that. You can send it either Twitter. Also, I think we have Facebook as well. Email, any way you can get to the Ultimate Sports Network connection, even to myself and John. You see us on Facebook, you can say, hey man, I don't know how else to get to this guy Frank. We can shoot it to us. We will bring this to you together collectively and we'll make it happen. We just want you guys to be part of the show. We want you to understand this is about you guys, not us. We're just guys that somebody say, hey, come on, you want to talk? Sure.
That's it.
But it's better when you guys are connected because I think we really have something here. We got somewhere we can go a long way with. So with all that being said, don't forget your homework. Do your homework like your mom used to tell you, or your dad, or your uncle, or whoever the hell was in your life. Do your damn homework.
Right on.